Hello Chicka Pies, how we doing? How we feeling? So as I promised, I am doing a video, and yes, I know I'm in the same clothing, but I'm gonna probably post this like midweek maybe, or somewhere after the weekend. So maybe you'll forget that you saw me in this. Probably not. But yeah, so as promised, I wanted to do a video. I said I would do a video, and I'm going to do a video. Today's video is going to be, I actually have two that I need to do. Today is going to be dating out of your age group and what is considered your age group. For the last, I want to say like month maybe, or like, I don't know, it's just like kind of been hitting me in my face. Like, I've had friends that are you know, dating someone older, younger, or like just meeting people in general that have been dating someone older or younger. And I don't know, that like people have been asking my opinion about it, and I'm like, okay, what makes me the expert? But maybe what makes me not really an expert, but maybe why my opinion may matter to some people is because I'm probably one of the most non-judgmental people you'll ever meet. I just don't go there, you know. And I do have own personal experiences myself within my family, so that also gives me a little bit of input. Yeah, so I'm gonna kind of, you know, tell you guys my opinion on this, how I feel about it, things that I've seen in my lifetime, or, you know, like just dealing with people in general. So this is not like, this isn't anything on a professional basis. I haven't done, you know, any type of surveys or anything like that, y'all. Okay, this is straight up coming from Sheila herself. Okay, so yeah, so first thing I want to say is, which I've said this on other videos before, so I'm sure you guys have heard this, but my son is married to a lady that is older than he is. She's older than he is, I think by 7 years, but maybe 8. I'm not sure. We're gonna go with 7 because I don't want to do the higher number, but in case it's wrong. Well, no, I think it really is 8. But and I'm gonna tell you that little story first, and then we're gonna kind of go from there. My son is an old soul. He is, I'm gonna say this, but oh my God, my battery is about to die. Seriously, I just did all of this and my battery is about to die. I'm gonna talk till it dies, okay? So my son is an old soul. He is the product of me raising him. I was a single mom since he was 8. And I raised him very independently. I raised him to be a young man at a very young age. Now that doesn't mean he didn't have a childhood, because he definitely had a childhood. But I did teach him things about life, and I just, whether or not I was divorced or not, I was going to do that because I started out telling him the truth. Like, I gave him life the way it was. He was probably like the only 4-year-old that knew where babies came from. He didn't know all the gruesome details, but he knew, like, I didn't feed him the fairy tale BS. So that being said, I knew that one day when he got to be a man, he would either marry late in life or marry someone older than him. Because I remember when he was 12 and he took a girl to the movies. It was hilarious. A 12-year-old girl and a 12-year-old boy. Now, typically you would say a 12-year-old girl is much more mature than a 12-year-old boy. Not the case for my son. My son was a very mature 12-year-old, and I remember when I picked him up from the movies, the first thing he said, Mom, to me was, Mom, girls are dumb. And I was like, excuse me? And he's like, oh my God, I wanted to watch the movie. And she giggled through the whole movie. Like, who does that? And I remember laughing, and I thought to myself, poor baby, like, you know, here he is. He really went to the movies to watch the movie. Like, you know, I mean, that's what he went there for. So, yeah, so at that point in my life, I realized that I had started to raise an... Okay, so the battery did die is what I thought. So anyway, I don't even know where I left off at, but basically I realized that I was raising a young man with an old soul, and that he would probably marry either late in life or marry someone older. And I further knew that as he got older, the young ladies that he chose to date, a lot of times he would tell me, he'd say things like, Mom, you know, they get on my nerve. I'm trying to work. They're calling me wanting to know why I'm not coming over, or why do I have to work? Like, don't they get it? And thought, oh my gosh, like, you know, I just pray for him to meet someone that's going to be, you know, within his way of thinking, you know. And so lo and behold, I met a lady that had a daughter that was older. And it was so funny because initially I thought, you know, because it's at the age that my son was and at the age that she was, I felt like there's no way she would give him the time of day, because it's a little bit more of a, I guess, a step for a older woman to date a younger man, especially when they're like, my son was like 21. So yeah, so, or 22, somewhere in there, 22 maybe, 22, I don't remember. But so we kind of joked about it, the two moms, you know, the other mom and myself. And I said, you know, and this was literally what I said, and please don't be offended. I said, your old ass daughter isn't gonna give my baby a second thought. And she was like, I don't know, you know, my daughter likes younger men. And I said, well, we'll find out. And it was, you know, it was literally a joke between us. Like, we wanted this so bad within ourselves, but we, you know, we couldn't do anything about it. We had to let nature take its course. Well, they met, and they actually did start dating. And I remember one day when my son called me, he had moved into his own apartment by that point, and he was living with a friend, to his best friend, and he shared an apartment. And he called me one day, I was leaving work, and he said, Mom, she gets me. Now, as a mother, when you hear those words, and for me, knowing my son, when I heard those words, I knew at that point it was all over, that he had truly met someone that he clicked with. And so as a mother, I was so proud. I never, you know, I didn't give the age thing a second thought, because old soul son and older woman, perfect match. His father had concerns about it when my son and she announced, you know, well, you know, my son mentioned that he wanted to ask her to marry him, and his father was like, you know, what's the deal with this older woman? Does she have children? What's her story? She's been married before. And I was like, no, that's the beauty of it. No children, no previous marriage, a beautiful person. Like, I know her mom, and, you know, she's just a wonderful person. So my ex, his father, did get on board with it, but he had many more questions than I did, basically because he wasn't with my son day to day raising him, and he didn't know the young lady that my son married the way I knew her and her family. So yeah, so that's kind of like my story, like with my own, like real up close and personal. Myself, I've always dated older men. I've always dated men that were anywhere between 8 and 10 years older than myself, because I too am an old soul. I'm the product of my mom and dad. My dad was 5 years younger than my mom, but my mother had me at 40, and my mother had rheumatoid arthritis. So I learned at a very young age how to prepare and take care of myself, prepare things and do things, and I was very self-sufficient. And so I too was an old soul, and I found myself when you know, my high school sweetheart, my son's father, now he and I were the same age, but we both were kind of old souls, if you will. But after our marriage dissolved, I found myself not being interested in the guys that were my same age, because a lot of them had baby mama drama, or they just were still like doing things that I just wasn't into. And so I would target the older men that were a little bit more mature, that kids may have been a little bit older, maybe even grown. The oldest I went was about 15 years out. Now, for me personally, and this doesn't mean anything towards anybody else, okay? Like for me personally, and maybe it was the age that I was at that point, maybe it was the particular person, I don't know, but I will say this, that was a stretch for me. Initially, and there were other factors too, but I remember thinking at some points he just seemed like maybe he had an old soul, I don't know, but there were times when we were planning to do things, and I kind of felt like more that he was a father figure than a boyfriend figure, and I just couldn't get, like, he really cared about me, and I loved him as a person. Great with my son, because actually we didn't actually have like a serious relationship. He knew my son because our kids went to school together, and for the sports activities and things like that. Like, so it wasn't like, oh, this is my boyfriend. My son just thought it was just a friend. So he never saw him as mommy's boyfriend. So we could be in the same place at the same time because we didn't have like that romance thing going. So, but we, you know, he wanted that, and I wanted to want that for us because he, on paper, he was perfect for me. But inside, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if it was a combination of like the person he was, or maybe it was the age, because I did feel like at times I felt like there was like this huge gap, and like I couldn't bring us together. But like I said, I'm typically very known for about 7 to 8 years is the norm for me. But anywhere between, you know, my age and 10 years is pretty much the norm for me. As I was dating in the day. So yeah, so for me, that's kind of like a comfort zone for me. Now, I've run across several friends that, you know, have like a really close friend, and she's not my friend, but she's a close friend of my friend. She's like in her 40s, and she dates guys in their 20s. And initially when she first told me, I was like, whoa girl, what do you find in common with them? And I still do have that question, like, what on earth do you have in common? Because I guess having a young man as a son, and my son will be 30 in July, I couldn't imagine dating a kid that was 30. Mainly because that's my son's age, and I would feel nasty, I think. In fact, I know when I turned 50, I went out with my best friend. Well, not my best friend, but a really good friend of mine, and we celebrated my 50th birthday. And she's younger than me. She's actually 35, or she's now 36, but at that time she was 35. And for whatever reason, every 30-year-old in that bar wanted to dance with me or wanted to wish me a happy birthday. And I was like, seriously? Like, I just want a grown man to ask me to dance. And so I was so put off by it, and I was wanting them to go talk to her because she was within that realm of things as far as age go. So I know that you know, it just doesn't work for me. But that's just me personally. And like I said, it's because when I see a 30-year-old, I see my son equivalent. My son's friends, like, it doesn't work for me. I'm not attracted. I feel like, you know, I don't see where we have that common factor. I've never met anyone that we would have the common factor, or I wouldn't even get it. I don't know that I would even allow it to get to that point. I don't know. For me, it just doesn't work. Now, does that mean that I think it's wrong, or that I think that things like that won't work? No, I can't say that. I do have, now my friend's friend, now she was never meant to have a serious relationship. For her, it was purely a physical thing. Like she said, I'm in it for the sex, girl. And hey, that's cool. Like, she wasn't looking for a husband. She wasn't looking for someone to raise her kids. She was in it for the sex. And, you know, hey, physical attraction works for me if that's what you want. Like I said, not judgmental at all. So, but then I have other, like I know of a young man that is my son's age, and he is a friend of my family. And the first time he came to the house, he brought his girlfriend. And I remember being a little bit shocked. I was told initially that, you know, she was older. And I was a little bit shocked because I was just, you know, I don't know, like, you hear it and then you see it. And when I saw it, like, she was like 40 something, and he was like, well, like, she's like 45-ish, I think, and he's like 26 or 27, somewhere in there. And she's had kids, like, he's, you know, and this was like a serious relationship. Like, I was told that it was a serious relationship. And so I was like, okay, let me check it out. Now, when I saw what I was seeing from this relationship was a very controlling person. I felt like she had the upper hand, and she was doing most of the controlling. Now, that doesn't work for me. I was a little bit concerned that my motherly instincts was kicking in, and I was just kind of like, wait a minute, I don't know about this. And because if a relationship is going to transpire between an older woman and a younger man, or vice versa, a younger man, a younger woman, and an older man, there needs to be a balance there. Like, you can't treat the other one like you're dealing with a mom or a dad. Like, we need to have a balanced relationship, and I wasn't feeling that with the two of them. And then even furthermore, when the young man made a comment that he had tried to break up with her, and basically she was not allowing it, and she was showing up on his doorstep, and she was not. And I wonder, I'm like, okay, where in a 40-plus-year-old mind do you get to the point where you can't, that you see a young man that maybe at some point you guys had an attraction to each other, maybe you still do, but knowing that he wants a chance to be with people his own age group, like he feels like now he feels that this isn't working, that you have the power, or you should have the power to make him love you or make him want to be with you. I'm still struggling with that relationship because it is still going on. She basically convinced him to come back and be her boyfriend again. So I feel that he's being cheated, and I think he does't know how to get out of it. He's not mature enough. He hasn't had the life experiences to know how to deal with a relationship in lieu of, I need to be out of the relationship. And I feel that in this case, it's wrong for her to, you know, I mean, I get she may be attracted to him, and I get she may be in love with him, but he's still a kid. He's still a very young man, and he has some growing to do. Now, okay, we just talked about like an age group of where the guy is like really, really young, and the girl is like, or the woman is older. Now, when we get into our mid-age group, like when we're in our 30s and someone else is in their 40s or 50s, it seems like it's a little bit more balanced out. I feel that that there's more of a balance level there. You kind of like, you will have somewhat in some aspects the same, like in music probably. The lyrics of songs will make kind of like the same sense to you. Your outlook on life will make kind of sense to you. You could get a person that's in their latter of their 40s that haven't had children yet, that want to have children, if you know, or you know, either way, because that's where things can kind of go either way. And I'm still talking within like a realm of things. Now you have the next step out would be the relationship that the person is 20 or 20 plus years older, or we're going to go 15 and up in years older. Again, somewhere between like the 30 mark and, you know, I'd say the 45, 50 mark. You probably can see that you can balance this out. You know, there's a possibility, and there's, you know, a relationship starting. It's probably a little bit more practical than when you have the younger person and the older person, especially when you're talking the female versus being the older and the male being the younger. But this age group, you find more of the older man finding the younger woman, because the older man is going through somewhat of a midlife crisis, and he feels the need that he needs to have a younger woman by his side, because it brings him back into his youth. It gives him back his manhood. And I'm not saying that that's wrong. I just think that what you need to be cognizant of is, you know, what are you really wanting from the relationship? Are you able to see this person and love this person for whom they are, and not just on a physical basis? Because I feel that sometimes for the man, when he's the older man and the female is that younger person within that age group, I'm speaking from experiences of people that I've chatted with, people that I've had conversations with, and I have conversations with men, because I get real with people. Like, I ask them, like, what is it about this 25-year-old that you're so attracted to, or this 30-year-old and you're 55? And mostly 9 times out of 10, it's a physical attraction, or you know, he's got his chest all pumped up, and he's just like, you know, she just does it for me. And but I wonder, what is that doing for you in here, in the heart? And so, and if you're both in agreement that it's just, you know, we're just gonna fly by this relationship, however it happens, we're gonna, you know, nobody's looking for anything serious, and that's okay. But the negative part to that is most of the time a female that's in that age group is looking for that relationship. Like she wants that person to be there forever. And she's not seeing what he's seeing. So when you're in that realm of things, my advice would be make sure you're being honest with each other. Man, if you're the older man talking to the younger woman, make sure she understands where you're coming from. And if it is a relationship where there's the older woman and the younger man in that age group, make sure that he knows where you're coming from. Keep it honest, people. Keep it honest, because that's what makes it work. If you go into it under false pretenses, it's not going to work, as with any kind of relationship. So then we have to, the next thing that I guess comes into my mind, and the things that, like when my son said, you know, Mom, I want to ask her to marry me. And I said, okay. I said, I just have a couple questions for you. And my main question was, and this question was partially because she was older, but it's also a question that I would ask him had the woman been the same age. But more so because she was older, and I wanted him to have a clear mind as to right now, she's 30 something and you're 20 something, and everything is kosher. You're balanced off. You're looking at her. She gets you. I get that. But as life progresses, young man, she's going to have you by those 8 years. Her body's going to change. Her appearance will change. And I just want you to tell me, and if you can tell me this, I'm okay. Is this a woman that you can wake up with every day for the rest of your life, loving her for the person she is, seeing the beauty in her, just as you see the beauty in her today? As her body changes, as things change, you guys are going to encounter a few little rocky roads, because you're going to hit a little point in your life where you're feeling your oats, and you're going to want to do a few extra little things. And she may be saying, you know, hey, I did that, done that, got the t-shirt, you know. And are you prepared to work in the compromise? I mean, she's got to compromise and you've got to compromise, but you're my son, so I'm asking you directly. And my son looked at me, and without hesitation, just instantly answered, yes, Mom, I love her just that much. That's all it took for me. So as a YouTuber, as your friend, if you are in a relationship such as that, that's the question I ask you to ask yourself. Whether it's an older man, younger woman, a younger woman, an older man, or younger, did I say that right? Older man, younger woman, older woman, younger man. Okay. Ooh, that's a tongue twister. If you're talking serious relationship, if you're talking marriage, if you're talking ever after, is this someone that you can look at and wake up next to for the rest of your life, through sickness and in health, till death do you part? When the body starts to change, when the wrinkles come in, when the old age spread comes in, when you know, hey, let's get real, when the menopause come in, when health issues come in. If you see yourself being able to be there for that person 100%, and loving that person the same way that you did the day that you made the decision to be in the serious relationship, then you have your answer. That is your answer. The true answer to all of this is there is no real answer to it. Every person is different. Every situation is different. Every individual in here is different. So there is no rule. There is nothing to say that it's going to work or it isn't going to work. It is where your mind is. Do you understand what you're getting yourself into? Do you understand the pros and cons? Because there's pros and cons, but there's pros and cons to every relationship that we get in. I mean, you can be the same exact age, and heavens forbid, God help me, y'all, there are pros and cons. So the best advice I can give anybody, even though, like I said, I know where my limits lie, I know where I have a comfort zone at. Even now, I was having a conversation with my girlfriend last night. You know, getting back into a different little thing here, y'all know I'll be all over the place, but I was having a conversation with my girlfriend just last night, and I was making the comment that for the first time, because I've always been attracted to older men, but I'm 51, and when I'm saying this, I'm not saying like I'm out here having a relationship with these guys. I'm just talking real in the sense that like I am human and I do look at people, because that's never going to change. But I see myself when I, like, at one point in my life, I don't think I ever even really, if a guy was a couple years younger than me, I don't know, I just think it was just something that made me be like, not interested. I don't know, it was just me, I guess. But now it's funny, because when I'm talking to people, or like say I'm out to happy hour or something, and a man comes up to me, most of the time he's a younger man. The 30-year-olds, I won't even have a conversation with you, because I just feel that it's just not, it doesn't work for me to even have a conversation with you, even though I'm not interested in a 48-year-old either. But it's just something about that 30-year-old. I mean, I'll have a conversation with you, but I'm very direct and to the point. Like, I have a son your age, you know, like, you know. But I can have really great conversations with a 48-year-old. I'm out with my girlfriend a lot because we're trying to find her a mate, and so I see people all the time, and I'm a conversationist. Like, I can totally sit at a bar and have a conversation with everybody at the bar. So when I'm saying these things, I'm not like out at the bar looking for a man or anything like that, but I am a conversationist, love to have conversation, and I find myself being able to have a very good conversation with a 46 to 48-year-old man, whereas years ago I kind of shunned those kind of guys away. And it's funny, because I was telling my girlfriend, I actually see some of them as being more attractive now than I see like the 55-year-old man. And maybe it's because like I'm kind of, you know, like I look this is gonna sound bad, but you know, again, this is like I'm just talking physical, because I'm not having a relationship with any of these people. So I'm strictly talking physical, meaning like the physical eye seeing. But I think that as far as like, you know, looking at the man himself, the image of that 46-year-old, 48-year-old is more appealing to the eye. And that's probably just a phase of like where we are, because that's when I say things like how our body changes. Like, I'm at an age where a lot of people think that I'm younger, so maybe in my mental mind, I see the older guy and I'm doing, he looks a little older. I don't know what it is. And like I said, it's not like I'm having relationships with these guys or wanting a relationship with these guys. It's just that if I be honest with myself and I talk about what I'm looking at as far as appearance wise, I actually say, oh, he's cute. I was telling my girlfriend. Whereas I may look at the other guy and think, not so sure. So, I mean, and of course, everybody's different. So I don't mean that to be literally like every single person that I meet. So when I'm saying all these things, I'm trying to keep it very real and very honest. Is that as our age changes, as time changes, all these thoughts are going to go in and out. Now, inadvertently, I probably would say, like, if I was out there looking for a partner, I would still probably go for someone that was a little bit older. I don't know. Maybe, well, no, I'm not going to say that. I would probably range between 46 and 55. That would probably be my new target range. If right today, if I was headed out to a place trying to meet a man, trying to, you know, have a relationship with a man, that's probably where I would target. I can tell you that I am so not attracted to a 65-year-old where I am in my life right now, because I feel like I have a lot of youth. And that's not to say that every 65-year-old, so I'm not knocking 65-year-old men, please don't misunderstand me, but I'm saying that where I am in my life right now, I feel like there would be, if I was to try to start a relationship with a person in that age group, I just feel like it wouldn't work for me mentally, because I just don't see that I would be there. I just had a conversation with someone recently that his wife was 15 years younger than them. They're going through a divorce right now. She just had a fling with a 35-year-old. She's 45 and she had a fling with a 35-year-old, and the husband's 15 years older than she is. And you know what he said to me? He says, you know, I would, even if she wanted me to take her back, which that conversation did come about, he goes, I would wonder for the rest of my life, because she left me so easily, and they had 12 and a half years together, would she take care of me? I'm older, and if I got sick or if something happened to me, would she take care of me? Because I feel like she wouldn't. And I had to answer honest and say, I don't think she would. So that's another, and after singing that, I was like, wow, that's something else, like, I need to talk about in my video. Because, I mean, I have things that are happening to my body now that 10 years ago wasn't happening. And so, in the sense of if I was with a younger man, is he willing to understand and compensate our lives for the fact that things will be changing in my body? And would he be there in the event of, illness or whatever? Because of course, I mean, illness can happen to us when we're young, but we all know that we're more apt for illnesses as we get older. And when he said that, I mean, I felt for him. Like, I was like, you're right. Like, she probably wouldn't be. And so that's another thing that you have to ask yourself. And I think if a relationship starts out when you are younger and you're with that older person, or vice versa, and you grow into wherever you are, like whether you're growing older together, the love is a more lasting love. It's a love that's been nurtured over the years. And one of my ex-co-workers' husband just passed away, and I attended his funeral last week. He was 83 and she was like 60 something. And but they started a relationship earlier on in life, and they grew old together. Now she's an old acting 60 some year old, I won't lie. He did age her. I mean, I didn't know her before, so I can't really say, but I can say that when I think of 60-year-olds and I think of my friends that are in the same age group as she is, I can definitely say that he aged her. But they worked, their relationship worked. And up until the day he passed away, she loved him dearly. But that relationship had time to nurture and grow. And I think that that's one of those things that you do have to think about. There's a different kind of love, not all the time, but when you grow with someone, the love is more, it's a more in there love. It's like all up in the chest area, all up in there. When you meet somebody later on and you've only had a couple of years with that person, or even shorter than that, it's harder, not impossible, but it is harder to have that undying love inside, to where they're going through something, they're going through illnesses, and you're having to be there for that person or change your lifestyle for that person. So those are things that you do have to think about. It's reality. It is what it is. And while I'm not saying that any relationship will or will not work for the sake of an older versus younger, I'm just saying that, like with every relationship, it does take consideration. It will take a little bit more consideration, because you are dealing with a few extra issues outside of all the other issues that you have with relationships in general, because they're hard no matter what age group you are. They're just hard, period. You're taking two people that are from two different worlds and you're putting them together and you're making them one. So no matter what the case is, it's hard. But when you do throw in age, there is so many different angles of things that you have to look for. And the last little thing that I'll speak on, and I know my camera's getting ready to die because it's right at 30 minutes and then I'll have to re-record or like start it over, is money factor. So often it's said, and I understand when people say that, because I say it myself sometimes, and I know that it's true sometimes. Like, are you in this relationship because that person can provide for you on a monetary basis versus having the true love that you should have in a relationship? And sometimes that does take into play. As we get older, I think it becomes a given for some people that they just want to, like, especially when it's the male and he's looking for the younger woman, he wants to give her and he wants to take care of her, and he wants to have that upper hand. He wants to father her. Okay, why did my camera cut off? All of that into consideration, the thing that you need to ask yourself, if you're in a relationship or you're thinking about being in a relationship, is it really what you want? Do you feel that it's working the way you want it to work? Are you happy in your heart? If you're speaking of this person and you're thinking in terms that I want to marry this person, I want to grow old with this person, ask yourself the key questions. Ask yourself, is it someone I can wake up with every day of my life and love them and see them as for the beautiful person that they are right now when it's 20 years from now? Or, you know, can I be in love with this person the same way I am today in the event that there's illnesses, if there's, you know, health issues? Ask yourself these questions. These are very, very important questions. These are important questions, period. But they're more important when you're doing a gap in age, because this is when it can become a little tricky. So you have to ask yourself these questions. Ask yourself, you know, what is it that I really, really want out of this relationship? Be honest with the other person. If it's just a physical thing, let that person know. Be straight up with them. If you're not sure, let them know that too. So I guess, you know, basically, for the people that have asked me to do a video on this or asked me my opinion on it, my opinion is you go in here and you use this. You use a combination of them both. And if it works for you, then you go for it. Parents, another whole issue. I just had a conversation with someone that she had to tell her parents that her soon-to-be husband is older than one of her parents. That one was a catcher. So, you know, as you know, those things are things that you have to be willing, because it won't be easy. And so you have to really, really understand that you're going to be going up against a lot of obstacles in that relationship, more so than the normal obstacles. So you have what I would call a double whammy. You got the age stuff going on over here, and you got all the other stuff in a relationship going on over here. So you got all the stuff just coming at you. And it's not to say it won't work, because there's plenty of happy people out there that, you know, have big age gaps or whatever, and they're totally happy, and this is their soulmate, and this is working for them. So again, my own personal opinion, this is just kind of my thoughts in general. I'm no expert, I'm no pro. I'm just a person that a lot of people share a lot of information with me. And so all of these things are things that I've heard from conversations with other people. These are things that have been shared with me. And so I'm sharing them with you in lieu of helping you to be able to figure out what it is that you have in your relationship. Is this really what you want? Or, you know, just kind of giving you some ideas overall. So I'm gonna go ahead and prepare to end this video right now. So I'm sure there's gonna be lots and lots of questions. Hopefully there is, because I want to get into like this massive conversation. And so yeah, so definitely leave questions or comments below. If you're a person that's in a relationship right now, older versus younger, younger versus older, male versus female, female versus male, you know, whatever the case may be, share your story below. If you're not one who wants to share their story below, then definitely, you know, email me, and we can talk about it that way. I will never put you on blast, you know that. And something else just popped into my mind. When you're in relationships like this and there's kids involved, I was invited to a birthday party where a lady is turning 50 and her boyfriend's 23, and she has kids that are like in their teens, like 17, 18. And so her kids are having a really hard time with the fact that mom's dating a 23-year-old. Now the mom tells me every time I talk to her, she's like, girl, it's physical. The sex is over the chain, like it's over the top. And I can't let it go right now. I'm loving it. Now she's financially secure. She doesn't need him for money, but he's a young man and he's got a lot of energy. And right now she's at that point in her life where she just, you know, want it all, and she's getting it all. Now, I think there's a clear understanding between the two of them. At least I think so. But it is affecting her kids, and maybe not so much in a good way. She has to hide him from her parents. Like, her parents don't know the seriousness of the relationship. Like, they've seen him and her talking, but they don't know that he spends the night at her house and things like that. That's getting into another whole realm of things, because again, like I said, if it's not something that you can be open and honest about, I have a little bit of a problem with that. Which, she's not a close enough friend that I can just, like, you know, go in and say, hey, you know, like, if you can't be totally upfront and honest about this relationship, then there's a problem. I don't have that with her, but I just wanted to throw that out there, because that is something else that just recently been, you know, like I said, this kind of like brought to my attention. And so that's another thing to think about. And if you if you're not having issues with the kids, then that's awesome. But if you are, that is definitely something else that you do have to take into that whole, like I said, you got this going on, you got that going on, now you're gonna have something else going on over here. I mean, like, you got it coming at you from all angles. And I'm not saying it won't work. Again, these are all things that every situation is different based on, you know, whatever. So I just need to get that point out there. So all of these things, if you're a person going through any of those, all of those, share it with me. If you're, you know, don't mind sharing it in the comment section, feel free, and let's talk about it. But please, I don't want any bashing of anybody. I don't want anybody saying anything negative or putting a person down because of their choices, because that's not what this is not what this channel is about, and that's not what this video is about. Again, like I said, I'm probably one of the most honest and open people that you'll ever meet when it comes to anything. Like, I'm very honest, I'm very open, I'm very understanding, I'm non-judgmental, and I don't ever want people to be in that frame of mind if they're commenting on my channel. So keep it clean, keep it good, and please, by all means, like I said, share. Make sure you thumbs up this video if you enjoyed this type of video. This is something that I want to continue doing a lot more of. My next video is going to be, or my next one of this, not my very next video, but the next one that I do in lieu of this type of stuff is, where do you meet a man when you're in your 50s? And girl got some choices, y'all, okay? Like I said, I get around, I've been there. So many people talk to me. Excuse me, goodness, that's how I gain my knowledge, people. I am that person that everybody walks up to and have a conversation with. Literally, like, anywhere I go. So that's how I get so much knowledge. That's how and I feel that's why when I started this channel, I told you all that I felt like this was God's way of, God gave me a gift and I need to use it the right way. And it's taken me a while to be comfortable enough to do this and to be able to just open my heart, open my mind, open my mouth, and be able to just talk. And so I'm doing it now. And I know that just as I'm sitting here right now having this conversation, there's someone that's listening to this. There's someone that's going to be touched by it. There's someone that's going through the same thing. There's someone that's trying to figure this out themselves. And that's why I'm sitting here in front of this camera right now doing this video. There is a purpose behind it. I know that there is. So that's one of the reasons why, again, I say no bad comments, people, because we are all in this together. We're all in this as people, to help one another, to love one another, to be friends with one another. And this is what it's all about. So again, thank you so much for watching. I was about to get on one of my soapboxes. Y'all know I start preaching every once in a while. I get over there in the amen corner. You know, I need an amen sister. So definitely know that I've enjoyed sitting here in front of you, and I hope that you do comment below. I hope that you hit the subscribe button, and once you hit that subscribe button, you know what to do at that point. You are a sugar pie once you hit the subscribe button, but you're a notified sugar pie once you hit that little bell that sits right next to the subscription button. So hit subscribe, hit the bell, and then you're a notified sugar pie. So each and every time I do one of these videos, you won't miss out. So thank you again so much for watching. Hugs and kisses, everybody. Love you.